focus on the solution,
Yeah.
not just the problem. And sometimes to come up with the solution, you need to work with a life and
Yeah,
success
you need
coach.
something external to kind of just guide you there. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Farah Ali Show, where we dive deep into the minds of accomplished entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Farah Ali, and be ready to gain valuable insights as we take you on a journey of inspiration and wisdom. Today, our guest is Shantanu Kamra, an immigrant who came to the U.S. with nothing much but big dreams. Started his journey in corporate America and transitioned into real estate investing as one of the fastest growing investors in the Chicagoland market. He owns and manages close to $25 million of real estate assets in a very short period of time. Enjoy the show. Hey, Sean, how
Hi.
are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Sure, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're the fastest person I know when it comes to scaling your real estate portfolio. Because when I first met you a handful of years ago, you didn't have anything, and now you have over 25 million, or just under 25 million in assets that you own.
Correct.
That's correct. So before we kind of get into that whole real estate aspect, let's kind of backtrack a little bit to what were you doing right before you invested in real estate?
Sure. So Farah, I come from, I'm an immigrant. I'm a first generation immigrant. Obviously, I'm brown. I'm an immigrant from India. I happen to come from, a country with 1.3 billion people. So it's not easy to basically, build an identity in a country with 1.3 billion people. It's pretty tough. So I come from a very fast-paced and very competitive environment, whether it's my background from a third world country or it was, my corporate career. Before real estate, I was a technology project manager. I was working for a French-based consulting firm, Capgemini, and I used to be a delivery lead. So basically, I used to do program management, project management, Scrum Master, and Agile Coach for technology and business projects.
Is that something that you went to school for?
No, I did. I did a lot of different things in my life, and that's why I think, before real estate, I was a very successful failure. I failed in a lot of different things. So no, I didn't do I did my master's in hospital administration.
Okay.
Which is, I did from St. Louis University. I came to America in 2012. So I did my MBA and a MHA and, I graduated in 2014. So my focus was hospital administration. I'm very passionate about healthcare and healthcare policies and, health disparities and all those things. So that was my major. What happened was in 2014, it's a dilemma. And I think that's a dilemma, for most immigrants from, India, is that you need a job to get a visa. And to get a green card, you need a job. So I tried for 6 months after I graduated to find a job in my major. And, obviously I failed because not many hospitals would sponsor a H-1B or a green card to an international student. So I had no option. I didn't want to be kicked out of the country back in 2015. So I didn't have an option. And, I basically started working in technology.
Okay. And how long? So you started that in 2015.
Correct. I started exactly Jan 1, 2015. I started working in, technology project management.
Okay. And then, so what was it, a couple years ago where you decided to go into real estate investing? Why did you leave your corporate?
So never thought about real estate at all. My biggest challenge for the first 7 years in America was how do I get a visa? Because, it's I was never really looking to become, an entrepreneur or a real estate investor, or, I just wanted to stay in America. That was my focus, survival. How do you survive in America, with visa constraints? I think 2016 or 17, there was a real estate seminar. I think these guys, they basically go around the country and they sell you on coaching.
Okay.
That was my first encounter in New York City. This was a pretty big group. I forgot that. I think Fortune Builders it was.
Okay.
And that was my first, somebody gave me a ticket. I said, wow, let's, go and, So I did not join the program at the time, but I did, kind of started doing research. So what I did from 2016 through 2018 when I moved to Chicago, whenever I used to do a project in a new city, in the evenings were kind of boring. So I used to do research, hey, Texas, Austin, Texas, real estate meetups. And I used to go there in the evenings and talk to other investors. And I did that in Cali, I did that in New York, I did that in Philly, I did that in Texas. Wherever I think I also did that in Twin Cities, Minneapolis. So wherever I used to have a project for 90 days, I used to stay there and go for meetups in the evenings.
So when you were working your full-time job, your W-2, what
Correct.
kind of salary were you getting?
That was kind of, when I started in 2014, because, beggars are not choosers. So I had to just take whatever salary was offered, even if that would have been a minimum wage job, because that salary came with a visa sponsorship. This was, exactly end of 2014, starting of 2015. So my salary, my first job, I still have the W-2 and my offer letter, was actually very low compared to what I should have got because I didn't have a visa. So I started at 70,000 a year. I was actually less than a mile from here on Spring Road in Oak Brook. That was my
Okay.
first employer.
I mean, that's not so bad as having no visa and, your first job.
Correct.
Right?
But granted, I went to school for 8 years. I did 4 years of undergrad, then 4 years, and then another 2 years of MBA, and then another 2 years of MHA. So when I came to America, I used to sit with my peers were 6 years, 5 years younger to me. So I think, that is what I was, I was behind the ball curve at the time.
Okay, and then what happened after that job? Like, did you end up getting promotions, or did you just quit that $70,000 job and get into real estate?
Sure. So what happened is Jan 1, 2015, this company gives me an offer letter and they say, hey, 70,000 and we'll sponsor your visa. April 1st is when, the employer could file for my H-1B. If we go back in time, that was one of the years where they had a lottery system. Okay. So not just I needed an employer now I had to go through a lottery system. And that was that was the end. If I missed the lottery, I would have no other option but to go back. So that was, kind of my, thing. So April 1st, they filed for my H-1B. They gave the result, I think, within 30 days. So I was picked up in the H-1B lottery, which was a big, kind of help. And the visa kicked in October 1st. Truth be told, the day my visa kicked in, the same day I started to look for a next paying employer. So I got a job stuck with them for a year because I had to go through the lottery system, and then H-1B is good for 6 years. So I knew that, hey, once I get picked up in the lottery, I can stay in America for the next 6 years.
Okay.
So yeah, I basically left them after a year.
Okay. And then did you then end up getting other jobs?
Correct.
Yeah.
I had no other option but to be sponsored, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a good, I think 40% raise from this employer to my next because now I had a visa. So that
Okay.
was a big raise.
Okay.
So 2014 through 2020, I kind of tripled my W-2 wage.
You tripled your
Correct.
W-2, yeah.
Each time I would jump, I would basically get a huge raise. So I tripled my base salary in, 6 years?
In 6 years. So at the end of those 6 years, what were you making at that time?
200,000.
200,000.
Which I think was, what I should have been, kind of lot of, program managers in technology. That's
Yeah.
what they make today.
So why not just continue the path of W-2? I mean, you already went from 670 to 200. Why not just continue in that trajectory? Why go into real estate investing?
See, once I got my green card, I got it through my wife. So I'm very thankful to her, which was back in 2017. Right. So I had been in corporate for 3 years, 4 years, kind of, jumping from one job to another. What I really, kind of the day I stopped working, right? The day I stopped making any money, right? So I wasn't really excited about that. Thought used to give me a lot of, kind of stress. hey, that one day if I stop working, that's the day I lose my job. That's the day I lose my salary, right? Uh, so yeah, after I got married, my wife is a pharmacist. She was working in California at the time, making a lot of good money, and she was born and raised in Chicago, and I was working in Pittsburgh. So we both thought of, hey, Chicago would be a good, place for us, both of us, to, basically start our family, if you will. And that's how I came, moved to Chicago. And at the time, we were looking for a house, to live, right? I didn't want to pay rent because that's money going out of my pocket and it's not going towards an asset, right? Uh, so what we did was we bought a four flat, which was my first foray into real estate. Still, I had my W 2 job. That's how I got the four flat, because I had a good, stable W 2 job. This was in Elmwood Park. So we bought a four flat. We lived in one, rented out the other three. That was my first, kind of outside of my corporate career, some, experience with real estate.
And it seems like you just got addicted to that and, you know, just flew, in the last 5 years.
Yes, but it's, like I always say, 99% of people, they want to be like the 1%, but they don't put in the effort that the 1% do. For me, it's not that I am into real estate. Real estate is in me, meaning like this is a 24/7 gig. This is not something that is, it's a full-time job. It's not, it's a lot of work. It's not that, it's a lot. I mean, you are way more successful than I am. You obviously have been in real estate longer than I have, and this requires a lot of work.
So I want to kind of backtrack a little bit to, when you have a W-2, when you're a W-2 employee,
Sure.
what are some of the habits that a W-2 employee has versus fast forward now you're an entrepreneur / real estate investor? Are those habits the same or have they changed over time?
See, my personal belief, everybody is different. How you do something in life is how you do everything, right? So, real estate or any business is only a part of me, right? I have to be a good husband. I have to be a good dad. I have to be a good father. I have to be a good, brother, right? So my life is much more than just real estate. Real estate, when I was in corporate, I was in consulting. How consulting works is you join a company, they don't have a job for you, they put your bio in a pool, and then the partners look at the profile, they interview you, and they put you on a project the next week, right? How you perform in one project dictates how you would perform in the next 10 projects. Because if you don't do well in one project, then basically that's the end of the story with that company, right? So I was always a top performer. Even academics, I was always a 4.0. I was always, I wanted to be just the top in anything I do, right? So I think that habit or that mindset has helped me in real estate, same thing. This is real estate is, it's like a job. I have to work as a acquisition manager one day. I have to work as a property manager the other day. I have to work as a leasing agent the other day. I have to work as a disposition agent another day, right? So I look at it very seriously, like it's my full-time career.
Where did that drive to be a top performer come from?
That's kind of a sad story. Back in India, I wanted to come to America like a lot of people in India, at the age of 17, which is, I think, the right time to come from, 20,000 miles apart. It's a very different culture. It's a different, people. It's languages. I still have a strong Indian accent, but still, I think it's very different, right? So I came to America at 27. And that's been my biggest regret, because I think I wasted 10 years of my life. I had some personal challenges. I have, nobody from my family had been out of India. Forget about, flying 21,000 miles over here. So I think because I blame myself personally for that 10 years of lost time, when I came here, I was, that, hey man, I lost 10 years. Now I have to outperform everybody, whether it's in my class, I have to make the best presentation. I have to be the best in everything I do. So I think that thing kind of, it's the same thing. And that thing kind of stayed with me that, hey, you just focus on one thing. I did 2, 3 things. I did my undergrad in occupational therapy. That kind of did not work. Then I did a MBA from India. That, kind of 3, 4 years, I got bored. Now I did an MHA here. Now the visa problem, right? So I think because I transitioned 2, 3 times early on in my life, I realized that, hey, the focus is the key. If I can just put 100% of my effort, and I was already dedicated towards, what I do in my life. So yeah, combined with focus and dedication and, everything else is, I think, history.
So I know when we were talking the other day, and you had mentioned that when you were in corporate, everybody was cutthroat.
Correct.
Is that the same way when you transition to an investor or entrepreneur? Is that the same type of mindset that you had to come with?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. Farah, what happened was I come from a country of 1.3 billion people, billion with a B. And then, if you look at the land, it's India is almost 4 times less in square footage, right? So there's a very high density of population. What happens is while I was growing up in India, I come from a land of scarcity in terms of resources, in terms of colleges, in terms of universities, in terms of exposure in life, right? I was cutthroat back in India.
So you came from a scarcity mindset.
Correct.
There's not enough for everybody.
For everybody, exactly.
Okay.
And I think you can relate to it as well.
Yes.
And you always have to chase the next best thing. You always have to be, you have to beat others and get to the next level. So that's probably, that's where I came from. Now, add on to it, I felt when I came to America, I came to, part of it is I came to St. Louis University. They gave me 100% scholarship. Now, St. Louis, in the grand scheme of things, is probably, when I came there, I was the only, person from India in my class, right? So, 10 years of lost opportunity time, right? I became even more competitive that, hey, now I have to prove myself not just back to my parents in India, but now I have to prove myself against my peers, against my professors, right? Everybody, right? So that just, I started to, if in India I was driving at 80 miles an hour, now I was at 160.
So you came here, and because you were very different looking than the rest, and then your accent, you were insecure.
A lot. When I came here, I was, for the first 2 years, while I was stuck in St. Louis, a lot of challenges. And I think part of it is, like I did not come to a big city like Chicago or New York, where, we have a lot of diversity. Diversity in terms of ethnicities, diversity in terms of language, diversity in terms of, different, even industries, right? Smaller towns are focused more on blue-collared manufacturing, kind of jobs. This is, in Chicago, you have hospitals, you have universities, you have software, you have hardware, you have everything.
Yeah.
So I think you have the best of, a lot of different worlds in a bigger tier 1 city like Chicago, New York, or LA.
Don't you think that some of this adversity that you had, whether it's come from a scarcity mindset, or then you were in St. Louis where there was this, not as much diversity, kind of molded you to who you are today and maybe drove you to that success?
Absolutely. I think every time I had a, not a failure, but a setback, that kind of, I use what I, typically I'm good at is I use the pain to propel me forward. If somebody even tries to, it's okay. I get, I do fall back quite a bit of times because I'm trying to do different things, right? But I use that pain, that failure, that mistake to basically propel me forward. So yeah, that helped me a lot.
Did you know that you don't have to use pain to propel you forward? You can actually do it without the pain. And that's something that we, as a life and success coach,
Sure.
that we actually evaluate what drives and motivates people. And we notice that a lot of times it is sometimes pain, but that's not something that has to, moving forward that you have to
Correct.
there's
Correct.
ways of doing it from a positive
Correct.
standpoint. Yeah.
No, I think
Yeah.
that's, you obviously are a successful life and success coach. And I think as immigrants, we have a habit of making a simple thing complex and then trying to solve that complex problem, which you could have, done in a much more simpler way and then take pride in it. So I think that, you convert something that's simple to make it more complex. Then you show that, hey, I solved a complex problem, which could have been done much easier, much more efficiently to begin with. As immigrants, I think we are behind the ball curve.
Do you celebrate your wins?
I
Or is it like never good enough?
yeah,
Because every time I ask you about, you got a property, you're just like, oh, I'm not there yet. It's like nothing. And it's like, oh my God, this guy needs to celebrate himself a little. So, and I see that a lot with even like in a culture, in our community, that people don't
Sure.
celebrate,
Correct.
enough. Yeah.
Correct. I think you're 200% correct. I think that's more of a, yeah, I do not celebrate success. I do not celebrate my wins because I'm always looking at, hey, so I closed on an 8-unit condo deconversion project that I was working on for a year, 1 year, right? So yeah, now I'm looking at, hey, how do I buy a 50-unit building, or how do I buy a 25-unit building? So no, I do not, that's something that I need to work on.
I can help you get there.
Sure.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Shantanu 1.0 versus Shantanu 2.0 because, like, even like a few years ago, honestly, like, you're a cool guy and everything, but I didn't really care too much about Shantanu because of some of the habits and traits that you had, and I think maybe you carried that because of the scarcity mindset, maybe being in corporate. And so, and I think today you have been learning and evolving into Shantanu 2.0, which has been, more of coming in from a positive standpoint, dealing with people. Like, I honestly didn't like the way you dealt with people back in the past, and I think that, you've been around different people who have been encouraging you and kind of giving you some advice. And now that's been transforming. So talk to me a little bit about what you used to do. And maybe why your reputation wasn't the best, like when you
Sure.
first started
Sure.
investing.
So yeah, I think some of it is, this change happened in 2021. And it was obviously, I knew about it. It was when, my wife and I had a daughter, you know. So, and I think part of it is culture, part of it is, background, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So initially I was very cutthroat. Like, my whole thing was that, hey, if I want to buy a house, how do I make sure nobody else gets to see it? How, it's kind of hidden. Nothing is hidden.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
is considered public information.
Were you
right?
one of those people that would steal the key from the lockbox so nobody else would get it?
So, yeah, a lot of different
Yeah.
things. But basically, I thought that, hey, I have to try to, not just when I buy, try to get, a contractor at the least price, right? Try to negotiate with the agent, the seller, the, wholesaler, whatever you want to call it, for the cheapest possible price. What I learned along the way is it's not about the price you pay for something, it's about the value you get, right? And people not always work for the, the highest price. How you treat them, how do you work with them, how do you work as a team, I think goes way along, forward, rather than just you pay him a price and it's a done deal. So I think I learned it in 2021 that, hey, it's not the, just to be competitive. Let's work as a team. Nobody is going to, if there is something in my destiny, it's going to be there. It's all about how do you see. We always talk about buy a property with no money down. So you're basically leveraging capital. Nobody talks about how do you leverage people. How do you care about other people's emotions? How do you have people, help you succeed?
I can't believe I'm hearing this from you. This is something that I would not hear from you a few years ago. So, like, what have you learned along the way about this shift or transformation that you have about how do you leverage people?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes from, looking at success coaches like you being very successful, and, you have a pretty big, fan following in Chicagoland, right? A lot of it is how do you motivate others? How do you, basically build a good and a long lasting relationship right? How do you win their trust? How do you create a sense of, that, hey, this is more about just, me and you, not just about this particular, let's not make it transactional, but how do you make it transformational for both of us, right? So that mindset, I think, shift happened sometime in 2021.
And when that mind shift happened, did you see positive results from that change?
Yes. See, anything you do today, it takes at least 6 months to a year to show. It's not something that will happen overnight, right? Any kind of, this is not just 1 + 1 = 2. We are trying to do 1 + 1. How do you make it 10, right? So, yeah, it did show up, but obviously not instantly. It took me almost a year for, kind of to people to see that and try to, reciprocate to me in that way. And yeah.
Is money, I feel like money was the most important thing to you a few years ago. Is that
Sure.
still the case? Is money like, all happiness?
No, money is not all happiness, but money is, kind of a big driver, right? But see, again, some people would want to buy materialistic things with money. I'm a very cheap guy. I don't like to buy expensive cars. I don't like to do, anything more than a simple vacation, right? But what, money means to me is generational wealth, right? For me, that means that, hey, while I was growing up, I did not have the opportunities and the experiences of, a person who had a lot of wealth, right? So I want to give those opportunities, those experiences, and those options to my daughter, right? So that when she grows up, she just doesn't has to become a doctor, engineer, she has more other, she has the whole world. That, hey, if I want to build a hospital tomorrow, then I have the, resources to, build a hospital. If I want to just, own real estate, then obviously that is something that I want to, pass on to her. And then people mistake, they think that generational wealth is only passing on properties to them, but it's also about how do you build an experience for your kids? How do they value the whole business model, not just the real estate part of it, right? So I think it's more than, teaching them, kind of giving them a bigger picture in life, which I obviously missed when I was, when I was in India. So yeah, I want to give that to my daughter.
Do you feel that you're completely secure today?
Much more secure than I was, I think, 7 years ago. Yeah, but it's, this is kind of an evolving, thing in my life. But yeah, now I have a wife, I have a 3-year-old daughter, my parents, they stay with us. So I feel way more secure than I was 7, 8 years ago. Yeah.
Do you feel that you still have certain things that you would like to work on?
Absolutely. I think no one is perfect. I have a lot of things that I have to work on. It's a different skill set. How do you start with one house? How do you go to 100, 110 rentals? And I think it's a different skill set. How do you scale from 100, 110 to 1,000? So I think it requires a different mindset. It requires a different commitment. And it also requires a lot of, people who can help you get to the next level.
So can you go, you mentioned about the skill set. Can you go into what type of skill sets you would need to grow from to get to 25 million?
I think people, right? I only have so many hours to work every day, right? It's the same for anyone else, right? I can only run a treadmill so fast, right? At some point I will get tired or I'll get injured, right? I think it's about how do you build an organization of people, right, who can help you scale. And scale to me is not just the number of units. It's not just the number of cash flow. Scale to me means a bigger picture in life, right? How do I become a better husband? How do I become a better son to my parents? How do I become a better brother to my sister? And then obviously, everything else falls in place. So I am, it's more about just real estate. This is more about life. It's about, spiritual, physical, emotional, and, it's more about the whole life, basically.
Yeah, you're very, very active in your real estate. So what does a day like of Shantanu Kamra look like today?
I I'm probably because I come from a very corporate, career, so I'm very disciplined. I keep a tight schedule, a tight log of everything that I have to do. So I'm a good planner. That's been my, thing from the word get go. I wake up at 5. Come what may, I have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the
Even if
morning.
you sleep at 2 a.m., because I know that you're up in the middle,
Correct. Yeah, because I do a lot of things. Yeah, so my whole thing is that hey, if I start my day at 5 o'clock, I'm trying to start it ahead of everybody else, right? And I'm not trying to push anybody. It's just that I want to start my day early. Even if I sleep at 2 o'clock, even if I sleep at 8 o'clock, I have to wake up at 5 o'clock, come what may, right? So that's been my thing. I kind of I go for a walk, do some meditation, yoga, and then I start my day with some work on computer, look at my calendar, look at what I do is I typically look at three things when I wake up. By 6 o'clock, what did I do yesterday, what am I going to do today, and what were my challenges for yesterday that I need to solve today, right? So I kind of have that meeting with me myself, and this is part of a scrum master approach, which is basically you look at what did you accomplish yesterday. So I make a list of 10 things. What am I going to accomplish today? So I make up another list of 10 things, and then what were the challenges yesterday that I have to solve today. So that's my approach from 5 o'clock to almost 7-8 o'clock, between the walk, doing some light meditation, light yoga, and then coming up with this Scrum Master approach, basically. Yeah.
do you ever have time to relax?
Work is relaxing for me.
Work is relaxing.
Yes. Work is, I love what I do, right? This is my passion. This is what I think I can do for the next, until I die. I don't, I think the thing about retirement, hey, you will retire from real estate, that's kind of doesn't work with me. I want to work till the last moment of my life, and I want to do what I'm passionate about, which is, so yeah, this is fun.
You manage your own properties?
Yes, I have an offshore employee, meaning
Okay.
I have a virtual assistant who is, this has been pretty much in this last few weeks. That is, kind of I'm training her to handle tenant calls, handle, call the contractors, trying to get the problem solved, so that at least the property management part of it. And then the other thing is, rent collections. So how do you, chase with a tenant who's behind on rent? What steps you take. So I'm trying to build that manual or a process manual around property management, so that I can, kind of outsource it to somebody else.
Do you ever feel that maybe if you outsourced more and you freed up your time, that you could scale up even faster?
Absolutely.
Because I think that's one of the challenges that you've had, where you want to control everything and do everything yourself.
Correct. So it's not just about real estate. As a person, I'm a control freak. I want to control everything. That's something my wife tells me every day, that hey, you're too much, and you want to be in control, right? So that is, part of it is, that same thing in real estate, because like I said, how you do something is how you do everything in life. So yeah, I think that's been kind of a weakness, and I don't know if it's a weakness or a strength, but it's kind of, I need to work on it for sure.
Yeah, the way that I've done it for myself is I kind of evaluate what is my time worth, right? So, like, I don't ever go to the village to do anything,
Sure.
right? I don't drive out there because that could take 2 hours of my time,
Sure.
right? So I'm like, okay, can I pay somebody $40-$50 to go out there and take care of business for me? Does that make sense? And then I can take those 2 hours and allot it to something else. So that for
Sure.
me has really worked, and that's why I've been able to do different things. But I think that's something that I totally get it, because I was a control freak. I come from the corporate career too. Like, I just want to do everything because I
Sure.
trust myself, right? And my results. But I think that once you are able to train others and let go, that more opportunities actually come your way.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I put it, you're 200% correct, right? I put it in a slightly different way. Whether you want to do a $25 job or a $20 job versus you want to do a $10,000 an hour job. You choose the battles you want to play, basically. Yeah. So you're correct. I think a lot of it is, something that I need to, like for me personally, I think within real estate, my whole strength and focus, the reason I could scale up is because I'm very good in acquisitions. I'm very good in negotiations. That's been my kind of forte. Whether it's negotiating with a seller, a broker, or a contractor, that's been my focus all throughout, right? So if I start working on build a business around acquisitions and outsource the other task, I think I could scale up more faster, because you just stick with something that you are good in, and you work on that and you become the best at it. So yeah, for 2024 and 25, I think that's my focus. That hey, how do I kind of just focus on one thing within real estate?
What's your actual end goal? I mean, how much is it passive income, a certain amount of passive income that you are trying to acquire? Is a certain amount of net worth that you're trying to acquire? What's your goal?
Truth be told, I'm not too passionate about cash flow, because how I run my business is whatever cash flow I make, I don't use it to pay off the properties. I use it to buy more properties, right? So I'm reinvesting the capital at basically to buy more properties, and that's the reason how I have scaled up, because in all my properties I have zero partners. The only partner I have is my wife, and that's by God's grace. And that's going to be till the time I die, right? So, yeah, I think, to answer your question, my goal is that, hey, if I can, leave my daughter with at least, $400-500 million in real estate that is paid off, that sets her apart from, a lot of different people. And all it does is I want her to be, humble. Try to solve. See, money will come. Money is not the end goal. The end goal is, how do you make this world a better life than it was when you came, right? So I want to inculcate those values to my daughter, and at the same time give her a lot more opportunities, right? Like, I sincerely believe that education is the best thing. Like, a lot of people will say, hey, why go to a school and pay? Now, again, like, you have good debt and bad debt. So you have good schooling and bad schooling, like with anything else, right? So, but to get to an Ivy League, it costs you a lot of money. So at least I don't want money to be, kind of a hindrance for her.
Okay. If somebody wanted to model you and your success, what are some, like, maybe 3 habits or traits that you think that they need to have to model your success?
So the first thing is, if you want to become any field, be it a life and success coach like you, be it a doctor, be it a technology, project manager, be it a real estate investor, it's only 1% of people who succeed in any trade, right? So 99% people, they do not want to do what the 1% will do, right? So what the 1% does is they always, for me, it's a 24/7 gig. I'm never sleep. I'm always looking at something. I'm always thinking about something, right? So that is one. Second is, how do you get out of your comfort zone, right? I came to America at the age 27, 28. I came in August. I have my birthday in November, right? I think because I was able to get out of my comfort zone. I mean, 27, 28, if you think about it, is not the age where you would uproot all your, kind of things for 27 years and go 20,000 miles away. That's the age where you want to settle in life. You want to meet a person, get to know him or her, and then settle in life. It's not the age to just, start life afresh, right? So for me, it was a strength that I could, get out of my comfort zone. Okay. I'm not scared to try different things. I'm ready to take challenges.
Yeah, and I think that fear stops a lot of people from getting out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that you've been able to, for whatever reason, been able to get out of that fear, whether it be, like you said, desperation of having to, move forward and do whatever it takes to make it happen, right? But a lot of people do have that, but there are simple techniques and ways to get rid of that fear by using certain techniques. So that's something that I think more people should do so that they can get out of their comfort zone and be able to reach their potential, because we're all here for a reason.
Sure.
And then most of, like you said, 90% of the people don't even reach anywhere close to their potential.
Sure. Yeah. And my whole thing is, you only get one life to live, right? There is, this is, I believe that, there is no theory of reincarnation. It's only one life to live. Why not give your best in whatever you do? It doesn't matter whether it's real estate, it's life and success coach, it's a doctor, it's the same, thing. Why not give it the best and reach your maximum potential, right? Like when I was in corporate, my life was, I was working 18 hours a day. I was there with the client if he needed me at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was there with the client at 2 o'clock in the night. So I was there, like I stood apart. That's why whenever I was, kind of my project ended, another partner would snatch me in, because people like to work with people who display that energy, right? So I think, it's like you said, how do you get rid of your fears? How do you get rid of rejection or fear of rejection? I think those are very powerful tools that you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is, are you going to ever do anything outside of real estate? Any growth outside of real estate investing for you?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, as a person, as a husband, maybe I'll have more kids. That would be a personal milestone, right? I think, no, I haven't thought about it, to be honest.
Maybe something to consider, because it's something that you talked a little bit about, right? Like people want to model your success, like how do you contribute then back to society?
Sure. What I'm, this is not really, kind of a for-profit thing. What I'm really passionate about is how do you help people from different, not just countries, ethnicities. How do you work with people who have challenges, who come with a diverse, I love diversity. I'm a big diversity maniac. I love different languages. I want to be part of, not just people from India. I want to interact with people from anywhere, basically, right? Because that's, I love it. That's why I came to America, So I think, if I can contribute towards, another person's success, I would love to, be a part of that.
Yeah, and I think there's so much to learn from diversity.
Sure.
Right? When you're just talking to just one group of people and that's all you do, that's all you know. You're in a box.
Correct.
But you get to hear different perceptions and, different ways of thinking, and it just expands your consciousness, I feel.
Sure.
That way,
Sure.
So totally agree with you. So, I think we're going to basically, kind of end it here. But before I end it, any other takeaways that you want to give the audience?
No, I think this is a great platform for with the business venture you have kind of specialized in. I think it helps people from different everybody has a problem, right? There is no person who says I have no problems. Now the thing is, the difference is some people are aware of the problems and some people are not. Then some people who are aware they have a problem, are they aware of the correct problem, right? So I think life is more about a holistic picture, which I think you have excelled in. You are obviously a great mom, a great investor, now a great life and success coach. Correct. So I think, that is something that, it's an everyday, change, that how do you become better in what you do, right? It's not just about being an investor, about W-2 job. It's about how do you become a better person, which is where professionals like you come into picture.
Thank you. Yeah, and I completely 100% agree that for every problem, there's always a solution. And not just one solution. There could be various number of solutions. It's just about how you think in your mind, right? You just have to make that shift.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I think sometimes you need an external coach like you or a third party professional who understands the art and science behind mind, body, spirit, and everything in between, right? Because here we are not trying to just be 1 + 1 is 2. This could be 1 + 1 could be 10, right? So I think a lot of times it's you should look at different people who are trying to help and try to get their advice and get to the next level.
Yeah, most people are so focused on the problem. You talked about focus earlier.
Sure.
Most people are so focused on the problem that they can't see the tons of solutions that are out there. So it's about shifting your focus to solutions, and when you do,
Sure.
there will be opportunities. So focus is energy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. 200% correct. Yeah. You need to focus on the solution,
Yeah.
not just the problem. And sometimes to come up with the solution, you need to work with a life and success
You need
coach.
something external to kind of just guide you there. The answers are all within yourself.
Sure.
You just don't know that they are, and you need somebody to navigate you through that. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sean. This was amazing. I really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you for being on the show.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me again.
All right.
Thanks.